You know him. You came here to see him. Y'all go crazy. Josh Johnson is here, everybody.
My friends had a baby, right? And a lot of my friends are having babies either this year or some of them already had them last year. Basically, since the pandemic, I guess my friends have had a lot of time together. Okay. Basically, I met one of my friend's babies, and I could tell that I was the baby's, like, first black person. Like, I could tell. It was just so apparent. It was like, as soon as we looked at each other, he was like, he went through all of the emotions at one time. Like, because when they rolled him over and he looked at me, he was like, oh. You know? And it was an odd feeling. I didn't even bring it up. I could just tell. You know what I mean? Like, I could feel it. And look, I'm not even saying it's the baby's fault. The baby got a white family. Hadn't got around to exploring the world yet, you know? I was the baby's first black person, and it made me think about, I don't know if I fully remember the real first time, but I kind of remember what I at least think was me meeting my first white person. It's very important that the day before this happened, I was at like a family picnic, right? I was at this family picnic and extended family had come. So I'm seeing cousins I don't normally see, and like all of the older people are there and everything. And so some of the kids are playing, some of them running around, right? There was one kid that was running around, knocking a bunch of stuff over, one of my older cousins, right? And he had to be like maybe 8 or 9 or something, but he's running around, and his parents were telling him, hey, slow down or stop or be still real quick. We're about to eat, all that stuff. And then he's still running around, knocking drinks over every once in a while. And finally, my great aunt, his grandma, as he was passing, she did that grandma move where she just snatched him real quick, right? Like, even his parents couldn't catch up. His parents were running like, come on now. She was like, pow, like it was incredible. She snatched the little arm and stopped him right there. And then she looked at him and he looked at her. And then she said through her teeth, so you know she meant it, right? She was like, if you don't be still, I'm going to slap the black off you. So the next day, when I met this kid, all I could think was, it can happen. Ooh, I gotta be extra nice to him. Something clearly going on at home. I was watching documentary about like serial killers and like sociopaths and stuff, and how basically they do these profiles where they try to identify whatever these like specific things are with their personality that make them the way they are, right? A lot of the traits and a lot of the signs. And one of the things they were saying in the documentary is that one of the best things you can do for anyone that's suffering from these sort of things is to find it as early as possible. That way you can help them before they do harm, you know? But then they also said that it's difficult to identify some of these traits when people are kids, because a lot of the list of what like psychopaths and sociopaths do as kids is a list of things that kids already do. Not the full list, but like a considerable amount of it, you know? And one of the things in the list is long-term bedwetting, right? Like bedwetting at like 13, 14, whatever, right? And it triggered a memory for me. Because when I was little, I had to be like 12 or something. I got invited to a sleepover, which was a big deal for me. I'm an only child, you know. Getting invited to a sleepover as a kid is like going out to the club as an adult. You know what I mean? It's the same energy. It's like me and my boys ride tonight. And so we got over there and we're having a great time. We're watching movies, we're playing games, we're like in the yard playing football and stuff. But it wasn't until it was time to go to bed that I realized that there was a hierarchy here. Because the kid who invited us, that was hosting us, only had so much room in his room. So his closest friend stayed in his room with him. And the rest of us stayed in the living room, right? And his parents made these little bulgy, like blankets and stacks of quilts and stuff for us to sleep on and everything. And I know it shouldn't have been a big deal to me because we had been playing all day. But if you've ever been to a sleepover, you know that when you're supposed to be asleep is when the good stuff happens. That's when the real conversation is had. And that's when all the memories get made. And I'm out here in the living room with the losers. So I get ready to go to bed, right? And I was laying with this other kid because it was 2 to each for everything. And it's not really important to the story, but the kid's name was DeMarvin, right? And so we fall asleep and I wake up middle of the night. Don't even know why I woke up, you know? And I notice when I wake up that just like the side of my leg and the side of my elbow are wet. And so I look over and DeMarvin not there, but his whole spot is wet. And I sat up, and as I sat up, I looked up and DeMarvin was sitting across from me watching me sleep. That's strike one, all right? Any child who watches you sleep, that should be on the list right there. And not only is he watching me sleep, he got his legs crossed. That's strike two. How you gonna sit there and cross your legs and watch somebody sleep like a villain? He's watching me sleep, has his legs crossed, and when I sit up, you ever so scared you assume you're not awake? It was so freaky to just see him there already staring at me. I was like, I'm tripping. I need to go back to bed. This kid looks at me, legs crossed, and goes, Joshua? That's strike three. Full name? Full name. We're both kids. Full name? You're the devil. This kid looks at me and goes, Joshua, I've wet the bed. But I'm gonna tell everyone it was you. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, what? How does that even make sense? Like, I'm the side of my leg is wet. Your whole spot was wet. People saw you sleep here. What are you talking about? You gonna tell everybody that I wet the bed? And then he goes from this like crazy intense stare to his face softening, and he's like, do you ever change your clothes? And as soon as he says it, I get it. As soon as that kid says that, I fully understand. Because that's gotta be terrifying. You know, you're at a sleepover, maybe you don't get invited to many, and you wet the bed? You're around a bunch of 12-year-old boys and you wet the bed. You'll never live it down. Wetting the bed at a sleepover at 12 is like wetting the bed when you go out clubbing with your boys. It's like, you killing the whole vibe right now. I knew we shouldn't have invited Jerry. He wetting the bed. Can't handle his liquor at all. So as soon as he said it, I got it. I really did. I understood. I was like, dang, that's tough, right? I don't know what I would do. I wet the bed. I'm trying to make friends with other kids. I'm a living room kid as well, so I'm already a loser. And then I wet the bed. I wouldn't live it down. And so I looked at him, I was like, man, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I only have the clothes that I have. I don't have any extra clothes. And then he goes, oh, okay. And I don't know where he got it from, but as soon as he said okay, he grabbed a cup of water and he threw it on me, right? And as soon as he threw the water on my crotch, I was like, ow, what's wrong with you? And the first kid woke up and DeMarvin was like, Josh wet the bed. And this is my thing. It would have been so much simpler to wake up in the middle of the night, realize that you wet the bed, go to the kitchen, which I'm assuming he went to, grab a mug, which I'm assuming he did, fill it with water, which he must have had, and then just poured it on me while I was sleeping. That would have been so much easier. I wouldn't have known. I would have woken up and been like, damn, y'all, I'm sorry. I thought I was done with this. I'm killing the vibe right now. It's so much more insane to wake up, realize you wet the bed, sit across from me, wait for me to wake up, staring at me the whole time, crossing your legs, saying my full name, telling me your plan, and then throwing water on me. I don't know where DeMarvin is now. I'm assuming that he's alive and well. But I do know for a fact that someone, somewhere, is dead. My other friends had kids in like 2022, 2023 and stuff. So then their kids are like at that age where they're like over a year old. They're basically at that age where you keep still saying like months. You know what I'm talking about? Like, nobody can just say, like, 1.2. I don't know, it's just as accurate, you know what I mean? Don't make me do the math. Because anything past 12, I know 12 months is a year, right? I know 18 months, year and a half. Once you hit me with a 27 months, I'm like... And so their baby is 16 months. 1.6. And they have a beautiful little boy, right? But it's funny, I didn't even think about this until I was hanging out at their house, you know. When it comes to our nature as people, right? We have the id, we have the ego, we have the superego, right? The id is like your lowest form. It's the impulsive part of your brain that is repulsed by pain. It's excited by pleasure, seeks it at all costs, right? The superego is your judgment. It's sort of your higher self in a way. It's how you weigh and balance some of your actions. A lot of religions attribute it to like the God in us trying to tell us what's right and wrong morally. And the ego is what mediates between the id and the superego. So then you'll have an id moment. Superego will judge it. Ego will process it, right? Id is like, I would very much like to sleep with this person. Superego is like, don't do that. That's your friend's wife. And then ego is like, but she's so hot. Didn't say this was all going to be a good person, right? But it's interesting being around babies because babies are all like cave person. They're all id. They're not weighing anything yet. It's just, I would like to do that. I'd like to not do that. They're not thinking about the bigger picture, right? There was one point where my friend sat her baby down in his little seat, right? And she laid her coffee on the counter, right? And then she had to go grab something else. And as soon as she laid the coffee down on the counter, the baby looked at the coffee And you could tell, and I don't know why I do this, but I always give babies in my head, I always give them deep voices when they're thinking, right? Because I saw the baby look at the cup and was like, the coffee is in the cup. But what if it wasn't? And so then this baby went to knock the cup over, right? Knock the cup over and just go ahead and watch the whole spill. And I don't know how, but babies are fast and slow at the same time, right? Because so she sat the baby down, walked away. The baby looked at the cup and looked at me. I looked at the cup and looked at the baby. And I swear, as soon as I started moving to stop the baby was like, oh! As soon as we locked eyes, it became an emergency. I gotta get this cup over. I have full legs. I was running at this baby. I was running at the baby to stop him from knocking off the coffee so hard that I was scared I wouldn't stop. I was scared I was gonna take out the coffee and the baby, right? But I'm trying to make my way across the room and the baby just, oh! And right as he slapped the cup of coffee over, I got to him and I pulled him up and away from the coffee, and he was just looking at me. Like looking me in my eyes, you know? And he didn't say anything, but you could tell he was thinking, I win. I don't know if y'all saw what's happening in LA. But the Archdiocese in LA just settled for $750 million with the lawsuits of everyone who had claimed abuse while they were patrons of the church. $750 million. I think $800 million when you count in some other stuff. That brings the Catholic Church's total payout to $1.5 billion. Anyone else would be closed. That's so much money. $1.5 billion that you had. You had $1 billion to pay out with. That's crazy, you know? There's no other company I could really think of that could do that much harm and be able to afford the payout. You know? You'd have to be like a gun manufacturer or something. It's so jarring, you know? I think that's what really bothers me about it. It's like there's the payout. And anytime someone has to pay, even if it hurts a little to pay, if they had the money, it feels like less justice because they had it. You know, you gotta make them pay a number that they genuinely don't know. I don't know if we can do. Good, that's exactly how much I want. You know, $1.5 billion worth of damage that you also admit you did. You know? This isn't like hush money. This is a settlement where everybody knows what happened and everybody knows how you handled it. You know? That's so jarring. And it makes you, how can that not affect your faith? You know what I mean? You went to this place. This is supposed to be the safest place in the world. This is supposed to be the place where you like lay down every burden, not pick up extra. Do you know what I mean? I don't even know where you go from here. It's beyond PR. You can't be like, but we also donate a lot to. I don't know if I want you around anybody right now. That's my thing. I don't even just care about the money. I'm glad that they had to pay, and I'm glad that survivors are getting something for all those years of trauma, all those years of therapy, all those years of like trying to navigate the world and people looking at you like it must be you. If you're dealing with something all day, it does not escape your mind and you can't even hold down a job because the way that people are around you affects everything that you do. I'm glad that they have something in return from that, you know, because you can't undo what's been done, right? But like who's in jail? Is anybody in jail? We always forget that jail would be better. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure that that's what they want, but it takes so long to get justice. Half of the monsters are like dead. And then the other half are like still alive, but then there's like statute of limitations, which I don't know. I don't fully understand statute of limitations because I understand that it's constitutional to have a fair and speedy trial, right? But we don't seem to do that either. You know what I mean? Like if Young Thug's trial can last 75 years, why can't you be like, you too? Get over here. I know it was a long time ago. Doesn't change the fact that you did it. You know? That's what's so painful about it too, you know, because then it affects you whether you know it or not, whether you're, you know, like Christian, Catholic, whatever. You try to tell somebody about Jesus and they're like, oh, I've heard. Do you know what I mean? It's a burden that we all carry. It's a weight that like is inescapable, and it happened to. In a way, it happened to all of us. Obviously not in direct enough of a way that I'm like claiming some victimhood or anything, but it also, you yourself might trust this person that you find out is a monster, which then makes you question everything this person said to you. Maybe they didn't do anything to you, but they did something so horrific to someone else that you're like, how can that person that did those things be right about what happens when you die? Like, I know the two seem like they don't have anything to do with each other, but they are so directly related because this person is basically telling you the keys to a good life, the keys to being a good person, and the keys to salvation. And then you realize that they were dangling those keys over someone else to keep their silence, right? That's too heavy, you know? I don't even know where you would go from here. Because nothing that is said by anyone in the church seems to fill the void that the church has created, both between people and themselves and between the people who had harm done to them and the way to redemption. It's just so far, you know? And the people writing now, the people who write for the church, the people who are the spokespeople, the people that we see, they don't have it like that really. Like they're like when they say their words, it doesn't hit like the Bible hit. There's no thous that can bridge the gap that's been created, right? There's no ye's that make me feel better. You know? Because I don't know. What is the truth taught by a liar? Do you know what I mean? Even if you really believe, you believe it from the bottom of your heart. This guy, this Weinstein is going to be the guy who spreads the word? That seems short-sighted. And then how they handled it too, because they handled it like the mob would handle it. You know? They didn't look at those people, those patrons, those souls that they have a responsibility to. That they took up the responsibility to. No, I personally don't know anyone who was made to go to seminary. Everybody there is a volunteer, you know? And so you'd find out. Sometimes it was the priests themselves telling their superior, I got a problem, right? And the superior was like, we'll get you out of town. That was the move for a long time. It's why so much damage was done, you know? If your toilet is broken, you get it out the house. You don't move it to another family's house to ruin their life. Do you see what I mean? You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know. I know I kind of like land on this thing a lot. And so maybe I'm doing the point a disservice, you know? Because a part of me hopes against hope that I don't care how it happens. I want everything that those priests were teaching to be real, right? I want it to be the truth. So that way we all know in our hearts that there's a hell. And I know that's like way more fire and brimstone. That's not like the uplifting message or anything, but I don't know. I just feel like it would be nice. It'd be nice to, you know, finally get justice. 20 years too late, the person's passed away, and then you're like, nah, God got him.
Okay, are you guys ready for your headliner for the night? You know him and love him from The Daily Show, so put your hands together for Josh Johnson!
I've been trying to listen to more music because I think that obviously it's important to read, it's important to talk to people, but I think music has a special place where you can learn something. Sometimes there's something that you can get from music that you just cannot get anywhere else. It doesn't hit the same through spoken word, doesn't hit the same way through prose, through like reading it, because I think whether it's melody or it's rhythm, there's something that you open yourself up to when there's music that you wouldn't if there wasn't. Like, it's a hard thing to explain sometimes, but there are little things that are written that stick with me. But then sometimes there's things that are just sung. And maybe it's just because of the way it's sung or something. I like that lyric. Let me think about that more. And then you chew on an idea, right? Music is incredibly powerful. Like, I think about back in Louisiana, I know somebody who, she divorced her husband with a singing telegram. Now, you can already imagine how different it hits to maybe be at a dinner and demand a divorce. I'm sick of this. I'm tired of you. I'm always putting up with the same stuff. I want a divorce. You know what I mean? Your server is like, so, no dessert. Or even if you just write someone a letter, they're sitting at home reading this letter in this unsealed envelope. They're just sitting there reading it like, What? But to have a singing telegram show up, knock on your door, be hitting the music, you know, little stereo, standing there. Beat starts, they're just, I am your singing telegram. And then they give you the worst news of your life. Dancing to it, too. She doesn't want to see you anymore. You become a bore. She wants a divorce. And putting his hand out for a tip. You know, music hits different. I think sometimes one of the most beautiful ways to remember somebody that you lost is through music. You know, sometimes, you know, you'll tell a story or something, and if the story doesn't hold a significance for a person, it just doesn't, they don't capture the thing that you captured when you talked to them or when the story happened. Maybe you had to be there, maybe you had to know the person. But when somebody leaves a song behind, that's like timeless in a way. We lost a very important person. Legendary person. We lost Quincy Jones, right? And if you don't know who Quincy Jones is, just educate yourself. Yeah, I mean, Quincy Jones, not just a legend, an icon of culture, of music, but something deeper, like understood. Quincy understood people, understood music, understood storytelling, right? Quincy was one of the master collaborators. There were people that you love and you love their work and you don't know Quincy's in it. You know? Like that, it's that way with Michael Jackson. Quincy and Michael Jackson had major hits. Michael Jackson owed some of his biggest hits to his collaborations with Quincy Jones because Quincy could help pull out the best parts of the person that he was collaborating with. And there's even stories. There's legendary stories that Quincy Jones has told. More stories than I could ever even attempt to describe. Like crazy stuff. This man lived one of the most remarkable lives in American history. And there's stories that are so insane that Quincy's like not even in the story, but he's in the story. Like he's not even a part of the story, but the story came together because of Quincy. As an example, I heard this story. It's a little bit less than a rumor, but a part of me wants it to be true because it's fantastic. Quincy had daughters. Quincy's daughters were, one of them was Khadijah, and at one point Khadijah apparently was dating Tupac, right? And this still blows my mind. So Tupac, through potential collaborations that they were supposed to do, knows Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson obviously knows Quincy Jones from the hits that they made together and everything. But there's this one time where when Tupac was leaving somewhere with Khadijah, like I don't know if it was like a dance club or something like that, but they were having an argument. And you know one of those arguments that you see where you're like, I don't know, is this bad? This, like, you know, like as a couple when you see them, and maybe it was that whisper fight, and you know that thing that couples do. It's like, I'm just. That's a big one at restaurants, you know. Oh yeah, you ever date somebody that could curse you out with those whispers? They hitting all the F's. Nobody hears, but. And you know, if you passing by, I don't know, is this a bad fight? Who knows? Or maybe they were having a screaming match. It doesn't seem like it because it seemed like kind of one-sided. Like Tupac was very annoyed with Khadijah trying to get her to come along and everything. And we've all been in a situation, if you've just been out, where you've seen a couple argue and you're like, is this bad? Do you know what I mean? Like you've been in a Walmart parking lot. Where you were like, is this just how they talk to each other? Or like, should I step in or something? Because this is uncomfortable, you know. And I'm not picking on Walmart. I've been to a Golden Corral and just waiting to be seated and you're like, all right, they about to eat together? That doesn't seem like a happy occasion. And so, you know, Tupac was saying something tantamount to like, come on, girl, hurry up, come on, right? But they're leaving as Michael Jackson is coming in, and Michael Jackson sees this. And so he approaches Tupac because of the closeness that he has with Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones' daughters are like Tupac's nieces to a certain degree. It's like that with any close friendship, you know? This is your uncle. Well, you're not related, but that's your uncle, right? And he says, hey, is everything okay? I don't like how you're talking to her. You need to chill out. You need to calm down, right? And then Tupac apparently says to Mike, hey, back up, all right? This is none of your business. Be about your way, all right? And then Michael's like, no, you don't understand. This is pretty much my niece. You're not going to talk to her any type of way, especially in public. You need to calm down, right? And then tells him again, you need to back up. You need to back off, right? And then according to the story, Michael Jackson beat Tupac's ass. I know how it sounds. But this is my thing. When I look at Tupac, and I look at Michael Jackson, I can't help but wonder if the two of them, in a way, are like the inverse of each other. You know? Because we've seen from footage of this person that Tupac is, right? This incredibly adept poet this person who pulls the tenderness out of horrific things and expresses that tenderness back through music or just through written word. That type of poet, that person is in some ways a sensitive person. Like a sensitive soul. Maybe not soft, maybe not, but there's someone who clearly has a sensitive side that they can access. And I think that a lot of like thug life, a lot of the street stuff, some of that is to sell records. Some of that he was really living. But you can't help but wonder how much of this persona is a persona to sell, to market, and how much of this is actually him. Because what if, when no one's around, behind closed doors, when you're just chilling, this guy is a sweetheart, sensitive person. It's what's been said about him through people who knew him. And you look at Michael Jackson. We know Michael Jackson was abused horribly. Joe Jackson beat those kids. And you go through your life like that with abuse, it can harden a person. And maybe behind closed doors, when no one was around, maybe Mike was like a little bit more hardened than we'd like to believe. So imagine that. You're fighting Michael Jackson. It's gotta be upsetting. I can't imagine trying to fight Michael Jackson, the king of pop. I can't imagine him fighting without doing moves for no reason. Imagine trying to fight Michael Jackson and he punch you, but he moving his leg. The leg not involved in the punch. You have the king of pop, right? And you have Tupac. Tupac is on the Everest of hip hop, right? Tupac, for better or for worse, created an entire lane of hip hop that people went down and either created some of the best artistry that I think personally has been known to man musically, and then some people who leaned into the street side a little too much and it just became something destructive. But Tupac is up there. And Tupac is who you would imagine would be beating on anybody, right? I'm not saying Tupac couldn't fight. All I will say is that the one fight that I saw Tupac in is the one that we can all see him in. It's the night that he was fighting with those dudes in Vegas. A bunch of guys on his side, guys on the other side, everybody getting beat. I'm not saying Tupac couldn't fight. I'm saying the way that I saw him fighting in that video looked like the way all of us might try to double dutch. Do you know what I mean? Because there was a big cartoonish scuffle, just feet in the air, fists out of the, just like, like with those Looney Tunes smoke clouds of fights and everything. And Tupac was outside of it, and you could tell he was trying to find his place. He was like, and now you're fighting Michael Jackson. Someone so horrifically coordinated. He hitting you and then pop it and lock it. Doing all these extra moves and stuff. Michael Jackson probably the only person in human history that could be beating somebody's ass and sound like he getting beat at the same time. Just, he punching you, kicking you, and then he the one be like, ow! Be mad as hell. You trying to fight Michael Jackson. You trying to swing on him and everything. And every time you think you really got a good one, you planned it out, the fist is gonna go in his face and I'm swinging with all your might. And then he just doing these dumbass leans. It's gotta be terrifying. Trying to fight Michael Jackson, he got enough cardio to dance for 3 concerts. And he thin too, so he hard to hit, he moving off. You swinging at him, he's saying stuff to you, words that don't make any sense. Tamagotchi. What am I supposed to do? Whispering to you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, especially if you have a fondness for a person, there's at least rumor that there are these tracks that got scrapped between Michael Jackson and Tupac. They were supposed to be on some songs together, right? So it's not as if they didn't know each other. And now imagine, you know this person, and you don't want to hurt them. They were talking disrespectfully to someone else that you love, and maybe they pushed you first, and now you're fighting, and then, you hit them, and you hit them hard. You hit him real good. Now Tupac bent over and everything. Michael Jackson, he didn't even want to say it, but he's like, "Are you okay?" You know? The way I imagine it, Tupac gathered himself and was like, "No, I'm not done. I can't go out like this." And he just went back in, swinging at him and everything. And then Michael Jackson went to kicking. And that, even when Michael Jackson was dancing, he wouldn't kick normal. He was never just like doing a kick. It was always like his leg was gonna come off. The whole kick. And now you stand there, you've been kicked 17 times, you still standing up, got all these footprints on you, like you got run over at a marathon or something. Your friends roll up to you, and now you gotta be like, It was 6 of them. They came out of nowhere. They all had the same shoe on. Oh, this is brutal. You know what I mean? Imagine you fighting somebody you respect, too. You gotta fight one of your heroes. It's unnerving. Beating you up. Fixing his hat for no reason. Because hearing about this fight, hearing about this rumor, reminded me of a different rumor that I heard about Michael Jackson. Something that, I don't know. I mean, it's you can take it or leave it. I don't know. It's something that I believed for a little while because of who was saying it. But basically, Michael Jackson had such a passion for the specific art that he was doing. Not just the music, not just the spectacle, but just the whole thing. So much so that he would let it spill off stage. And all of it became a persona. All of it became a presentation, performance, almost all the time. And one of the ways that it presented itself was not just in how he dressed and how he looked and stuff, but also how he spoke. Because there's an idea that if you can be meek enough, if you could be gentle enough, if you could be soft-spoken enough, that people's perceptions of you will almost pass past you and just see the music. If you're not this big, larger-than-life character, if you're not getting in trouble all the time, maybe if people can just see me as this, like, the same kid that they fell in love with, now just making bigger and better things, maybe they'll love the bigger and better things I have to make, right? And so there's a rumor from a few different people who knew Mike well, who would chill with him, sometimes just out by themselves when there was no risk of being seen by the public. And they said that voice, the voice that we know as Michael Jackson, the voice that's been, imitated over decades, was not his voice. That's what they said, that if you were hanging out with Michael Jackson, you just chilling with him at his house, he actually had a way more like level register than that, which is something that shocked me, because I was like, wow, imagine putting that much into a performance, that it's like off stage and it's everywhere, it's everyone that you meet, you're shaking hands with people, you're meeting people, and that's still not quite you. You're still putting it on a little bit, right? But now imagine you're fighting Michael Jackson. And not only is he beating your ass, but every once in a while he's like, "Come here, bitch!" Like, that's gotta be maybe the most shocking part. I don't know what I would do. You're fighting Michael Jackson, and he making 3 different noises at the same time. He got a low one, he got a high one. He's saying weird stuff. Not only do you have to fight Michael Jackson, you got to fight a possessed version of Michael Jackson, I'm assuming, because you've never heard him talk like this. No. That's one of the funniest images I have in my head is Michael Jackson punching you in your forehead and they'd be like, what's up, nigga? Like, that's... No, what's really hood, dog? What's really... Imagine, and you're Tupac, you're getting beat, presumably in front of some people, by Michael Jackson. At a certain point, you gotta be like, guys, somebody must have a gun. Shoot this man. Even if you try to shoot him, Michael Jackson probably like catching the bullets. Well, maybe he knocks you down. You laying on the ground. You ever seen somebody get beat? I know I'm digressing to digress, but like this, you ever see somebody get beat up real bad and all of a sudden it's almost like they have a cold or something because they start coughing? You know, it's like they get punched a couple times, they're like, and then Michael Jackson rolls you over with his foot, you know. Walks around you all disrespectful, just fixing his belt and stuff. He's standing over you. You don't know what's about to happen next. You don't know if he's gonna curb dance you or... You're waiting for him. Is Michael Jackson gonna kill me? He's looking down at you. Maybe you even try to get up one more time. Maybe you got a little fight left. I can't go out like this. I have thug life tattooed on me. You give it all you got. You swinging at Michael Jackson. You kicking at him and stuff. And you got to worry about extra. You got to worry about like extra things with Mike. You know, you got to worry about his kicks, his punches. You also got to worry about his pelvis. He also moving that all weird and stuff. Imagine somebody punching at you and then just... I don't know what to do with that. It's very upsetting. Michael Jackson punches you down to the ground again. You hit the ground. You're like, this is it. He's going to kill me. And he's standing over you, towering over you. When you're waiting for him to hit you with that death blow, he just goes... I don't know. It probably didn't happen, but it's fun to dream.
Charleston, please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew, the first time he knew his like neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank. And, you know, he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, hey, do you know why this branch is closing? And she was like, are you here to make a deposit or withdrawal? And he was like, withdrawal. And she was like, yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking. I don't know. I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been like broke off and on my entire life, you know? And there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need like a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. You know? I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, you sure? I'm talking about well, you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, Because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places and you'll see the brand of the meat and then you'll see, you know, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, you know, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is. Because then, I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, you know. When you shop at a dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, you know that dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You know, like you would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy this soldier and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have like grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it. And you're like, yeah, soldier, get him. And he's like, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I'm gonna get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You know, you would have those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Man, y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? but it was stretch arm. It would only stretch for like 3 days. You only got 3 good days. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt, and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. You know, Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost here. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet, because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. And there's only there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? That's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. You know? There are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? You know? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm gonna be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only like sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? You know, word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not going to be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it. It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family. Right? So then you hear people talk about recession. That recession is coming. Recession is looming. And to be fair, people have said that since the last recession. Every year, I'm not an economist, but every year there's somebody that's like, it's coming. Get ready, batten down the hatches. And so you're in this situation where, you know, people are very worried, and understandably so. Because it's not really about the money. Money is mostly like the conduit. Money's mostly the placeholder. There are people who find money to be a game, and for them, the number is the important thing. How much actual money they can stack and hoard is the real thing. I want to show how rich I am is the real thing. But for almost everybody else, it's about their survival. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of the people that you love. So when they hear that there's going to be a recession, they're not really thinking like, oh, the number will go down. They're thinking about food. They're thinking about housing. They're thinking about resources. You know, and the only way forward is with other people. We've proven that this thing doesn't work. And by this thing, I'm not just talking about like one specific system. I'm not talking about like capitalism. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about we've proven that a true rat race does not work. I can't believe the world watched Squid Game and was like, yeah, I think I could win the pot. The pot is the problem. You know? And then I think the other problem is that if you are pitted against people, if you're pitted against the other 330 so million Americans, then yeah, the odds look insurmountable. But when you see how many people are actually in your situation, and you see how many millions of people are just like you, and you put yourself on the same side as them, all of a sudden, all of the weight, it gets a little bit easier. You know, there are people around the world that will never have access to the things that we have access to that make it work. And so sometimes we stress, oh, how am I going to make it work? And it's like the number one way is through community. Your future is your neighbor. There's no other way forward. And I know that can be scary. That's an idea where you have to lay down so much trust at the feet of people that you don't know. That's very scary, because I've had good neighbors and I've had bad neighbors. I've had very bad neighbors. I had a neighbor who stole my trash can. It's the trash can. You could just put your trash in there too. Stole my trash can and lived next to me like I'm not gonna notice my trash can. And he was big too, and I'm pretty sure he sold drugs, so I wasn't gonna take my trash can back. But I was like, I will put my trash in my trash can over here though. Just because you stole the trash can doesn't mean I'm gonna get another trash can. It's a trash can, and trash goes in. You could have put your trash over here, but then you wanted to put it in front of your yard. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure you have a gun, so I won't make a big deal of it. But I've had bad neighbors, and I've also had incredibly kind, incredibly sweet neighbors. I had neighbors that made any transition period I've been having in my life easier. I remember when I moved to Chicago and I was living in my first apartment, I had a neighbor that knocked on my door. I had been living there for like 2 days, and I didn't have stuff. I'm like this broke kid who just moved to Chicago with like 2 suitcases of like clothes and a couple of other things. And so knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, this older guy, and he's like, hey, I saw that you moved in. If you need anything or you have any questions about the building, just hit me up. I live right there. And I'm thinking he's like the building manager or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And we get to talking a little bit. And as we're talking, I realize he doesn't work for the building at all. This dude is literally just checking on me for the sake of checking on me. And he's like, if you need anything, because I saw, you were having a little trouble, I couldn't have caught up to you, but I was going to help you up and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. And we didn't see each other often. And I remember the day that I moved out because I ran into him again. I ran into him and his wife. And he was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. Because I can tell, we never really got to chop it up or anything, but I could tell that I like the way you move. And you didn't cause any trouble. You were just cool. And I wish I would have knocked on your door a couple more times, right? I never forgot about that guy, because even knowing that there was someone there if I was having a problem, it just made living there on my own a little bit easier. Just in the back of my head. Once again, we didn't even have that many interactions. I only knocked on his door a couple times. And the couple of times I knocked on his door, he needed help too. There was one time where we had in our building a chute for the laundry that nobody used. Nobody ever used it because it's not like it was one person. Do you ever, the chute for, this isn't Eloise. Like, it's weird that there was a chute for the laundry because it just went to the floor down there, and you'd have to go down there to wash your own clothes anyway. So I guess if you wanted to save yourself the weight of the trip, you could push all the clothes down and let them get nice and nasty, and then slip through the chute and then hit the ground, and now it's got different stuff on it than the reason that you're washing it. So nobody used it. And nobody used it because it was nasty. And so then one day, the actual building manager poured a whole bunch of like bug poison down it to try to kill some of the bugs that had been living in there. And the bugs were like, you know what? I think we'll go everywhere else. And so then one day I came home and my apartment was just overrun with bugs, and it didn't make sense because I didn't even have stuff. I had a fork, a bowl, it was kind of like a saucer. It wasn't a plate. It was a plate that you would put a teacup on. I didn't even have dishes to be nasty enough to have all these bugs. So I'm freaking out. I'm killing a bunch of bugs, and then I run over and I knock on his door, and when I open his door, he looks like me. He's like, you too? And both of us just knowing that we're both dealing with bugs was enough to make the whole thing easier. He helped me kill some of my bugs. I helped him kill some of his bugs. And we were both very upset with the building manager. I had another neighbor when I was living this short little bit in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was it was a house. It was a house. But it was you know how there's it wasn't a duplex. Okay. The house I was living in was perfectly split in two, right? To make 2 unlivable houses. Okay? So I wasn't staying there for long, but it was just 2 completely unlivable houses, right? And I had a neighbor that lived next to me where I moved in, and once again, this older lady, so sweet as could be, knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, I saw that you just moved in. She had baked something, old school, Like out of the movies. She had baked something. She was like, I made you a little something, some muffins. I know moving is hard. I know sometimes you don't have anything to eat right after you move. So this is for you, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And she was like, yeah, I like to help people get their bearings. And just so you know, I just want to be the one to tell you so you don't have to find out on your own. There's a crackhead in the wall. And when you get that type of warning, it does make you look at the muffins twice. One has nothing to do with the other. But I was still like, oh. And she was like, yeah, we thought it was a bird for a long time. And then he started talking. And so if you hear anything in the middle of the night, just pound on the wall a couple times and he'll stop. I was like, okay. All right. Okay. And I closed the door and I sat in silence for the rest of the night, waiting to hear a noise that would never come. It wasn't until like months later I heard some scratching in the wall, and I was like, how does somebody just live with it? And so I knocked on her door, and she came to the door. She was like, you hear him too. And I was like, look, I know you lived here longer than me, but in case it is a bird, maybe we should call animal control. Just throwing it out there, right? And she's like, you can do what you want. I called animal control, and then they could hear the scratching too. And then they went ahead and went on the roof, and they said that they found a slight hole in the roof, and turns out it was a bird. It had been a bird the entire time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bird when she heard it, but maybe she just had the TV on. Maybe she was like, he's talking. Animal control leaves with the bird. I go over, I tell her it was a bird, animal control called the bird, and she was like, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. That has been happening for like 8 months, off and on, and I was positive it was a crackhead. And I guess that's what a good neighbor does. I guess a good neighbor lets you know nobody's in your wall. Because I think fundamentally the toughest thing people are facing right now is like a true way forward where they can trust other people to help them and take care of them. And I can't tell you to just blindly put your faith in people that you don't know, even if they live next to you. But what I can tell you is that most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there's a community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. If you are the one knocking on your neighbor's door, letting them know you're here, if they need anything, they'll probably do the same for you. And it's so simple to build community. It's so much more likely that you're gonna build community than you're gonna become a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Both things are incredibly hard to do. They take a lot of hard work and everything, and one of them means everyone will hate you. Because when you're broke as well, the thing that happens, I think, the most often is that we have a real misunderstanding of each other. Rich people The rich people that I've met in my life, no rich person I know feels rich. They feel comfortable. Now, they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their level of comfort, but they don't feel rich. They're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. And you show them how much they make, and they're like, yeah, I got to maintain, you know, I got kids, I got to. And then you show them how much the rest of the world makes, and they're like, ooh. Okay, maybe we don't tell anybody how much I make. And the same thing, when you're broke, there's a genuine misunderstanding around the decisions that people make when they're poor, around the way that people think, because there's not the possibility of thinking past tomorrow, because you're not even sure you're going to get there. Do you know what I mean? When you really don't have means, when you really don't have money, you come off wild sometimes because all your requests are strange, because you're just trying to piece things together just so you can make it to the next day. You know? Like a good example is I used to work at a grocery store, and one time in the break room, we're eating our lunch, and this one dude opened his lunch and then just said out loud to everybody, hey, I made a hamburger at home, but oof, does anybody have a top bun? Sir, they're always sold even. How did this happen? We look at money as paper, right? At least when it's in its physical form, it's this paper thing. But it's more than paper. There's fabric weaved into it. There's linen, there's cotton. It works the same way that society works. There's fabric that weaves all of us together. And there are people who have not been able to participate in the opportunities of making money or making their well-being out of these chances in the market the way that other people have. And so when you tell them that a recession is coming, they're like, oh, a what? Okay. I was already broke. Do you know what I mean? What is a recession to somebody who was on the street the whole time? I guess the best example I can give is one time I was at a party with my friends, and I fell in the pool. And falling in the pool at a party is one of the more embarrassing things you can do when it's not a pool party. If you fall in the pool at a party where people are just sort of standing around the pool and talking, you might as well have fallen off the roof. But I fell into the pool at the party, which is not just embarrassing, it's not just annoying because now all my clothes are wet and everything. It's terrifying because I can't swim. You know what I mean? I'm not a swimmer in the way that I would like to be. And the way that I would like to be is to be able to survive. And so when it comes to swimming, I'm not only not a fan, I'm not efficient. And so I get in the water, and when you don't swim, and I don't just mean can't swim, I'm saying when you don't swim, like for fun or anything, being surrounded by water out of nowhere is very concerning. I didn't realize I had stepped into the pool until I was in the pool. So now what I feel like has happened is that I turned around and water surrounded me. And so I start doing what I think swimming is innately. I start fighting the water, right? I'm punching and I'm kicking and I'm like, get off me, water, but I'm in the water. But I'm like, get back, I don't want you over here. And that's not how water works. And so I'm sifting through the water, and it's almost like swimming, except I'm staying in place underneath it. So that is drowning. That's what drowning is. When you're swimming perfectly, but you're not going up above and you can't get your head up, you're not actually swimming, you're drowning, and it's also exhausting. You're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking, and you're moving, and you're doing a pretty good job of drowning. If you could get your head above water, this would be swimming. And if you could get your chest up, if you could do that butterfly thing, now you're a swimmer. But I am over here, no more water. Get out of my face, right? So then it takes someone pulling me out of the water for me not to actually drown. And Not right after, not soon enough after, but pretty soon after we leave the party. And not as soon as you would like if you almost drowned. You know what I mean? Like that's, and it's tough too, because like the dude saved you as your ride. So now he's doing you two favors, you know? So then, you know, man saves me, and my buddy pulls me out of the water, and now, you know, we stay an extra 20 minutes because now he's got his MAC points for saving a life in front of everybody, you know? That's what most embarrassing. The only thing more embarrassing than like showing a whole party full of people you can't swim is to be sitting there wet while the person that saved you tries to mac on somebody. Just like, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I try to help out the people, you know, when doing my best. And it's like, also, my man didn't. Look, I'm not necessarily trying to give notes on being saved, but like, my man did jump in the pool and grab me and lift me up and swim me to the shore of the edge of the pool, right? This man just stuck his arm in and kept clawing at me until he got the back of my shirt. That's barely saving. Like, when I tell you that I'm over here, stop it, water, no, I don't want any more. And then he is over here, bow, bow. And he missed like 8 times. So he was punching me in the head while trying to save my life. And he finally hooks his hand behind my collar and pulls me up the way that a cat sort of lifts its kitten in its mouth. You know what I mean? Just sloppy. And then I'm also still fighting. I don't know what's pulling me up, so I don't know if that's more drowning. I don't know what the effects of drowning feel like. So now I'm not necessarily fighting his hand, but I am still fighting the water. And so if you were on the other side of the pool, it does look like I was drowning. He reached in, dunked me one more time just to be safe, and then pulled me up. Because I don't know that he's trying to help me. But when he finally pulls me up and I'm over here coughing up the water and everything, this man helps me get up out of the pool and then immediately sees the eyes on him and everything, sees the opportunity, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know. I do what I can. Also, I know he saved my life and everything, but also the fact that he didn't need to roll his sleeves up like that. Like that was even more just worth like, oh yeah, you know, I tried. Now you sitting here wet, just like, can you wrap it up, get the number or don't? And so then me, him, and some other friends head to his car once he's ready to leave, and his car won't start. Waited for nothing. Now, luckily, we were staying at his house, and luckily he did live close enough to the party that we could walk. It was like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and some change. It wasn't crazy. And so we start walking. As we start walking, it starts drizzling. And then it's drizzling a little bit more, drizzling a little bit harder, and then it really starts raining. And when it starts raining, all my friends did a different thing when it was raining. Like, I had one friend that did the turtle. Just walking and just trying to... And I get it, because he has some deep collarbones. He would have had 2 lakes on either side of his neck if he had just let the water hit. That would have been 2 puddles he had to carry. So I understand him trying to... Then I had another friend who was over here doing this, which genuinely pissed me off. That's one of the craziest things I've seen. You have 2 hands, one hand covering some of your head, but not even efficiently. Where's the distance management here? You'd be better putting the hand on your head. And then I had another friend who just decided to lean forward, because I guess he just doesn't want a wet front. He's just cool with it all hitting the back. And as it's raining and raining, my friend was over here doing this, turns to me, because I'm just walking. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just walking normal. And they're like, oh, Josh, you must not mind the rain. And I was like, I almost drowned 20 minutes ago. And that's what it's like when you're broke. You're almost drowning all the time. So when people try to scare you with talks of a recession, you're like, why would I? What? You're doing this. I'm already wet. And the way to ensure that you're going to be okay, the way to ensure that your family is going to be okay, is by creating chains, by linking up together with other people, with other families. Because the way forward, your future, I guarantee you, it's not in the market. There's a belief that, like, if I can just get enough ahead, maybe I'll pull some other people with me. And that sort of thinking is the reason that we as the people can be taken advantage of so easily when it comes to money. It's like, I can get you a little bit ahead. Oh, I'd like to be a little bit ahead, right? But the way forward, your future, I promise you it's in your neighbor. I promise you, there's no one that's going to take care of you like the people that are actually next to you. And it's kind of daunting to me. It does freak me out a little bit that there are so many people, every election, every year, no matter who's president, that expect the person in office to make them rich. Don't you know this is America? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. You may like the person in office, you may not, but I guarantee you they're not gonna make you rich. That's not how anything works. And don't get me wrong, I've had dreams before. I had a hard time getting to know people, and I had a hard time communicating with people. I'm an only child, and my mom wanted me to have friends so I wouldn't be crazy. And so, as a single parent with one kid, my mom, the only thing she knew how to do was go ahead and take me over to her other single parents' friends' houses where they had one kid, and she was like, maybe y'all will just play and not be crazy together. And sure enough, there was a time in my life where my parents got back together, and so we were a 2-income household, so I started to get the good toys, right? The real good toys. I'm talking WCW, NWO, wrestling toys, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash. And sure enough, you know, I remember I got those toys. Those are some of my favorite toys in the world because I didn't know ankles had come out yet. I would hold up my Kevin Nash and I'd be like, bow, 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 bow. Look what he does. Bow, 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 bow. He had knees, he had ankles, he could do this. That's crazy. I was used to this only. Maybe if you were getting fancy, some of this, but I wasn't used to this. This thing right here, this is crazy. Real shoulder movement? My mind was blown. It's like, look at what this thing can do. Bow, 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 right? And so then my mom took me over to her friend's house, and her friend had a kid, and you know, I went ahead and brought over 2 of my toys. I brought my Kevin Nash and I brought my Sting because I'm trying to make a good impression. And so we're talking, they're talking, and finally we go to his room to play, and my mom leaves to go run some errands or something. And I quickly realized after my mom left that he was crazy. He was genuinely crazy because all of his toys, every single one of his toys, didn't have a face. None of his toys had faces. I don't know if he was chewing them or if he was burning them, but they were gone. And so he looked at my sting toy and he was like, oh, we have the same one. And I was like, I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. And then sure enough, this kid pulls out his sting toy, and I know we have the same toy because the sting had the jacket. The jacket you could put on, you could take off and everything. And so we're playing, and I'm trying to be a collaborative new friend, right? I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do Legos? You want to do like wrestlers, whatever? And then we decide Legos. So I was like, do you want to build a castle? You want to build a wall? What do you want to do? So we decide to build a castle, right? And then this kid, we're halfway through the castle, maybe 100 pieces to go. And this kid grabs the castle, lifts it up, throws it against the wall. It explodes into like 190,000 pieces. And I'm like, what did you do that for? And he goes, don't talk to me. And I was like, oh man, yeah, chill, Satan, chill, okay? Back up, devil, okay? Because I had been prepared in case the situation happened, because I knew I wasn't a crazy only child, but I knew there were other crazy only children out there. So I already had my thing on me, right? I had that lance in my back pocket. I was like, don't you come near me. I will cut you open. This thing is 6 weeks old.